Hi everyone, this is Don Smith and I'd like to welcome you to my first video tips tutorial of 2017. Back in November, I sent out a tips tutorial in video format and asked for your response, and the response was quite high that you really enjoyed it and you would like to see more of these as we move forward. And I couldn't do one over the holidays. I kind of came down a little bit with an illness, but it did allow me time to just sort of practice with new software that I was being sent at the time. And two of the softwares that I have gone back and tested that I really am starting to like now are Authentic's Perfectly Clear, and which is really almost like a one-touch software you're going to see. And the other one is from the folks at McPhun, that's spelled MACPHUN software, and it's called Luminar. Now, Luminar is only at this current time available for Mac users, but they are assuring me that it will be ready for PC here very shortly. So I'm going to take you through three images that I captured a couple weeks ago at Pinnacles National Park, our 59th and latest national park in Central California. I'm fortunate in that I live about a 35-40 minute drive away from Pinnacles, so I can get down there during the week when there's not a lot of crowds. And there's a trail in Pinnacles on the west side that you would access in from Highway 25 if you were coming south out of the Bay Area, and it's called Moses Spring Trail. Now, Moses Spring Trail is beautiful at any time of the year, but it's really really meant to be photographed, under soft, cloudy light. And I'm going to take these three pictures and I'm going to show you kind of a quick way that I went through and processed a lot of these images, and it was really time saving. So we're going to start up here with this first one that's just kind of a little detail shot. Okay, and it's just some nice, still kind of fall colorly leaves on this old log with this, I guess, kind of an algae growing on the end. I just found it kind of fascinating. And I'm going to right click, and this one I'm not going to do anything in Lightroom. What I'm going to do is we're going to start right out in Perfectly Clear, and there it is. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. So this is the raw file, completely right out of the camera. Nothing done to it. I haven't gone into Lightroom in the basic panels. I've made no tweaks, and we're just going to wait for the interface on Perfectly Clear to open up. And there you go. That's the simple interface. Now, they have currently 8 presets, and I'm being told they're working on a new version that might be out as quickly as in the next 4 to 5 weeks. I can tell you in this version, the current version, Perfectly Clear Complete, I use 90+% of my work is done right here in the Details tab, which is the default tab. You can come over here to Vivid. It really what Vivid is doing is just adding more punchiness, more contrast. I think Landscape goes over the top. It just gets it too contrasty. Yeah, the colors pop, but there's other ways of doing this. And this is really going to be a 1-2 punch that I'm going to show you. And we'll go quicker on the other 2 photos. By the way, before we leave this, and I kind of like this result, I can go into Adjust, and I do have an opacity slider that I can take the effect off, and I can bump it into Taste. This one I'm just going to happen to leave all the way up at 100. You do get a couple of more tonal corrections, think black and white, a little bit of color, but as I said, I'm going to do that over in McPhun, and a little bit of sharpening. I just tend to go on these pretty much at their default settings, but you can get in and you can play around with these. So we're going to go ahead and click Save. And really what Perfectly Clear does, it really nails the tonalities from your whites, your brightest whites in your pictures, to your darkest blacks. And you can see the difference right now between the adjusted picture and the original raw. But I'm going to take it one more step. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open this picture in Luminar. This is the software from McPhun. And it's really kind of a fun software to play with. They have a lot of presets, a lot of filters. You can build your own filters. Well, let's try this again. Let's make sure we're opening it. And want to come up here and to edit in. Let's try that one more time. Okay. There we go. Now we're getting to edit with a copy. And we'll just let McPhun open up. Okay, and we're going to see the interface box here shortly of McPhun. But what I want you to do is take a peek down here on the bottom, because we have a lot of different presets. And by default, McPhun will only offer you the basic presets. But if you click, you can see that we can click all. They categorize them: outdoor, travel, street, portrait, dramatic. I'm going to just work today with one preset that I've found that works in conjunction with Perfectly Clear pretty well. And it's called Image Enhancer. And what I'm going to do is it's right here. It's the second from the right. And I'm just going to click, and you're going to see it kind of go way over the top. But look at how punchy these colors get. Well, let me hover back into the little film strip box, and you can see that I have an opacity slider. So I'm going to take it all the way off, and then I'm just going to bump it back in to taste. And I'm usually finding that I'm always below 50 points, sometimes down as low as 20 points. But this is sort of a taste. You're doing it by taste. And you can see what's going on over here. We have the little bit of tonal changes going on. I tell my workshop students, when you change tone or think black and white, you're affecting your color. A little bit of saturation boost, a little bit of clarity boost, and some structure, which is mid-tone edges. And I'm going to spend a little bit in time in here. I can click that eyeball for before, after, or the one I like is this little scrubber here. And it allows you to just scrub back and forth and see your changes. Okay, I'm going to cancel out of here. We're not going to save. We're going to move on to two more pictures. This is actually a picture of the Moses Trail itself. And this time I'm in Lightroom. I'm going to go back into the Develop module, and right up here in the tone box, the basic tone box, I'm going to just make a couple of tweaks. And I'm going to, because I've got that bright sky kind, even though it was a cloudy day, I really had to open the exposure in here, and I don't want to blow that out. So the shadows are opened here. I'm going to see where my blacks are just till I start to see them pop in. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I am going to pop this one over into Perfectly Clear. So again, the 1-2 punch is setting your tonality in Lightroom, or you can work through. You don't want to really go overboard in Lightroom, I've found, because when you go into these third-party plugin filters, they're going to be doing their own changes. And if you make too much dramatic change in Lightroom, it'll take your picture way over the top. So you're just kind of ballparking it. All right, let's go back to the presets, as you can see by default. And let's do the scrubber on this one. There we go. So you can see before, after. That's pretty cool. And I'm up here just in the top right. I did that a little quickly. It's right there. You can come into the second one and it'll do side-by-side comparison. So you can see it just really kind of gets those midtones and the tonality of the picture. It just gets it. And again, adjust. And if you think it's a little bit too much, you can always back it down and bump it up into taste. Okay, this one I kind of like. I don't think I would go into McPhun on this one. So I would accept this one as it is. And now we're going to go back into our library. We're going to work on the third one. And this one really is going to be a 1-2 punch. Let me get back into my grid here. G for grid. This is just all through the Moses Spring Trail area. You have these huge talus boulders. So this was, Pinnacles was created millions and millions of years ago by lava explosions that actually happened down in Southern California. And this plate has been slipping along. It's less than like 1/8 of an inch a year, something like that. So it's continuing to move on a northerly track, believe it or not. This plate is still moving along. So it's a lot of talus rock in here, and because it's so shaded and it gets wet in the wintertime, we get a lot of this moss and algae growing in here, and that's providing all this great color. And obviously the clouds are providing this the soft light. So this one I am going to come into my basic panel. I'm going to always start with my whites, find my highlights, tweak my blacks, and I'm holding the Alt or Option key as I do this. I'm going to open up those shadows, and you can see the data masses right in here. I open up those shadows a little bit more, and I may just give a bump of contrast, not a lot. I don't want to do a whole heavy-handed thing in here. All right, let's right click. We are going to take it over into Perfectly Clear, Complete. And by the way, you can go on my website, www.donsmithphotography.com, and on the home page, look over onto the left-hand side, and you will see discounts and affiliate links. And that's where you would go in to click, and you can get a discount off of both these products, McPhun and Perfectly Clear. Okay, excuse me. By default, not so sure I like that. It's getting a little crunchy. Let's try Vivid. Okay, that pops a little more contrast for me. I am going to just jump down here and try Landscape. No, I think that goes over the top. Let's leave it on. I'm just going to leave it on Detail. I always go in and check my opacity slider, but I'm kind of pre-visualizing a little bit what McPhun's going to do. So I'm going to bump that up to around 76 points, and I'm going to click Save down there on the bottom right. And it's going to do its thing. Okay, and it puts me back into the library module. So there's the picture it saved. So now, excuse me, I was on the picture it saved. Okay, sorry about that. So now we're going to right click, and we are going to edit in Luminar and see if we can't bring out a little more of that texture, especially deeper into the shot. It's not so much the foreground rock that I'm trying to work on. It's what's in the distance of the foreground rock. The other moss-covered rocks, and those are what we call gray pines that are kind of going off in the distance there. All right, so now we're going to edit with a copy. We always want to do a copy. And we're going to let the Luminar interface box open up. And as I said, you look in the bottom right down here, it's always going to default to the filter category Basic, which is where the image enhancer filter resides. And again, I'll caution you, it's going to go over the top. So we take that off, and what we do is just sort of bump it into taste. Okay? Now, you can see, and I'm glad this is happening, you can see that in order for me to bring up my background the way I want to, it's blowing the foreground. So how do we get away from this? Well, follow my cursor up here to the layer 0. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to delete all filters. Then I'm going to come up to this plus sign, and I'm going to add a new adjustment layer. Those of you who've worked with masking, I think you know where I'm going here. So now I'm going to click on this one, and I'm just going to let my eyes, image enhancer, excuse me, I'm going to let my eyes kind of go into the background, really from this diagonal line back into here. That's what I'm looking at, not here. And once I think I have that right, which is looking pretty good, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this brush tool right under the hand, right there. You get these brush options that click open, and I'm going to do this empty circle. I want to highlight that because that's going to brush away from what I am seeing. Now, by default, opacity is 50%, and that's okay. You rarely want it at 100%, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this down a little bit. So it's not so much in your face, if that makes sense. Okay, and if you look up here, you can see the mask starting to build. Now I could take another 50%. That doesn't mean I'm going to eliminate it 100%. We have to do a little math. It's 50% of the remaining 50%. So that's 25 more percent. And I think I'm going to take it out just in the brightest green parts here. And I'll take a little bit more right in there. And now I think it's looking pretty good here for us, okay? So that would be the way I would come in. Now I would hit apply. And let's just get this back out into Lightroom so we can do a before and after comparison. And now to me, the picture looks much more balanced. Those greens on that foreground talus boulder aren't so much in your face. We've taken them down. And if you, again, have any dealings with using masks, I'm going to blow this one up really big for you. We'll just make it we'll just come into develop. We'll make it a full scene. And there you go. And you could also come back now. I'm in Lightroom's develop, and you can double check your whites. Okay, you can see we've blown a little bit. I'm just going to take that down on the highlights. I'm going to check my blacks, just 2 little dots on the bottom perfectly. I don't think I have any more shadows to open up. I could bump a tad bit of clarity back in if I wanted to, but you can see these are all minor changes. So that's my 1-2 punch for your New Year's. It is perfectly clear, complete, and McPhun. And honestly, it can save you a lot of time going through and doing processing if you've got some quick processing images that you want to get through after the holidays and wrap them up. So until next month, I hope this tip has really helped you. And we will see you then. Please check out my workshops that are listed below this video. And we'd love to have you join us. I can show you a lot more workflow technique in the workflow or in the workshops, excuse me. And we also do image review sessions and a lot of fantastic location shoots. We have a great time. Would love to have you on board. So we'll see you next month.